So Coach Dan Quinn's introductory press conference was today. Let's talk about it. Oh, here I am petting my kitty. Welcome back to another video here on the Washington Football Maniacs YouTube channel. My name is Greg, and this channel is dedicated to the Washington Commanders, soon to be one of the best franchises in the league, even though a lot of people right now are taking pop shots at us for, I don't know why, but anyway, if you're down with that, make sure you have hit that notification bell and you have subscribed. And thank you for all of those who prayed and who thought of me while I was out sick. I'm still not 100%, as you can hear, but I am slowly getting there. I did have COVID, and for the third time, glorious. But you know what? I've survived it yet again, and so I'm thankful for that and feel blessed. So with that said, let's get into today's video. So we're talking about Dan Quinn, his introductory press conference today in Ashburn, as my cat is probably going to take over this video. But so a lot of things being said. I think the first thing that we really want to get out of the way in this video is the fact that Dan Quinn officially said that Eric Bieniemy would not be a part of this team, this coaching staff, but he did have a great conversation, sit down with him and spoke to him earlier, wished him well, and we all wish Eric Bieniemy well. I think, Eric, he bet on himself this past year, and I think he had some good things that he brought to the table. For the most part, I really did like the idea of Bieniemy having the hard-nosed approach, because honestly, I think that's what you need when a team has been losing for so much. They need that little extra push, and Eric Bieniemy was the one to be there to push them, and so I appreciated that. Now, I don't know how many of the actual players appreciated it, but I definitely appreciated the style of coaching. I regret that, things didn't really work out the way that they should have in Washington. And I know that there's been a lot of people on social media that, honestly, people who don't really follow the team strongly or closely enough, maybe they've watched a game, maybe they've watched two games, but they haven't really followed the team close enough to really make a good assessment. And so, all of them are have their own conspiracy theories as to why things didn't work for Eric Bieniemy. And really, honestly, at the end of the day, it's just basically things didn't work. When you look at the offensive rankings, under Scott Turner, the offensive ranking was 24th. Under Eric Bieniemy, it was 25th. So no growth there when it came down to it. Eric Bieniemy had an exciting offense, I felt, in the early going. Things seemed to work on all cylinders, but, dropping back a young quarterback so much in every single game and didn't really make any adjustments for Sam Howell until 3 or 4, maybe even 5 games into the season. And just really, I don't know. I just those were a few of the things that I felt that really hindered Eric Bieniemy, I think, as growth of offensive coordinator, and I think it also affected Sam Howell's growth as a quarterback. I just felt that there should have been a little bit more balanced play calling, and I was really questioning situational play calling as well, especially on downs like fourth down, where it's like 4th and inches or 4th and 1, and you put your team in a shotgun formation with an empty backfield. I don't really get that, but still, I think overall, I think Eric Bieniemy, I think he's a very good coach. I think he's got a bright offensive mind, and I think he just needs to probably be somewhere where you've got maybe more of a veteran quarterback who's been established, who kind of knows how to audible out of bad plays and things like that. Obviously, Sam Howell's not ready to take on such a role or responsibility. And so it just overall, I don't think it was a good fit. And Dan Quinn, I think overall felt it was not a good fit uh, for Eric Bieniemy, which is the reason why that he went with Cliff Kingsbury. And I think Cliff Kingsbury, he's a little bit better in terms of young quarterback development. He has had hand in helping to develop Patrick Mahomes. Um, it, certainly coached Johnny Manziel during Manziel's Heisman year at Texas Tech. And of course, he's helped to develop Caleb Williams as well, the most sought after quarterback in the draft this year. And so, and Kingsbury had some success, a little bit of success, but he did have success as a head coach when he was coaching Arizona. And so I think overall, he's a very established offensive coordinator, and I think he's going to do very well. Now, he's going to bring in that air raid type of offense that honestly it's not really the type of offense that I enjoy watching. I know some of the younger fans, they love it. They just love watching quarterback just drop back all the time and pass it around. Um, I'll admit I'm a little bit more smash mouth type of football. I love when the quarterback lines up under center. I love when you have a running game, a solid running game, and it's a smash mouth that eats up the time on the clock, and that sort of thing. So this is going to be a little bit more of an offense that's similar, I think, to what we had, obviously, when it comes to passing, because it relies heavily on passing. And but I think you still will have some good running backs, some opportunities for your running backs. When Kingsbury implemented this offense in Arizona, he still wound up having 1,000-yard rushers. So there's still some good opportunities for B-Rob. If we decide to retain Antonio Gibson, Chris Rodriguez, guys like that. So there's some opportunities for a good, solid running game. But overall, I always have enjoyed balance with an offense. So this would be interesting to see. I've heard nothing but good things about Kingsbury's offense, his style, in which, for those who are unfamiliar with an air raid type of offense, it's kind of derived from the run and shoot. The old run and shoot offense, where you have the offensive line that's kind of spread out a little bit more when they line up. They're almost like a yard in between each other, and they're not as stacked close together in terms of how other offenses are ran. So everything's really spread out. You usually have 4 receivers in there and one lone running back. So just really, it's the pass the ball around the field type of offense. If you want to go back and watch the earlier versions of this, go back and watch the Houston Oilers with Warren Moon and that style of offense. That's something that I remember seeing a lot in 1980s, and you could probably maybe even say a little bit about Buffalo's offense from the 90s under Jim Kelly, that K-gun offense. So, something that you're going to get some good running out of it, but it's really based on the passing. And so it'll be interesting to see how this works out with whoever the quarterback's going to be. If it's going to wind up being Sam Howell again. I think likely though, from what they didn't really say much in the press conference in terms of the quarterback situation, what's going to happen with that, and of course we weren't going to get any information out of that, out of Quinn or Peters. But I'm assuming if they do draft a quarterback at number 2, likely that quarterback's going to start. So there's a lot of work to do. But I really enjoyed the fact that Quinn, getting back to the press conference at the 10-minute mark of this video, that Quinn really seemed to be in lockstep with Adam Peters. And I think that's extremely important, that your head coach and your general manager are both on the same wavelength. I think that's the reason why that Joe Gibbs was so successful in his first stint with Washington, was that he was in lockstep with Bobby Beathard, and Bobby went out and found the talent for the team, and Gibbs put that talent to good use. And so I think with having Dan Quinn there in lockstep with Adam Peters, they're going to know exactly what type of talent is needed for this team on both sides of the football. And so Adam Peters is going to work hard to try to find that talent. So I did enjoy that. It seemed like they were all on the same page. It's not just a coach being thrown in there to, maybe he's not quite as interested in the type of offense that, or I should say the type of offense that maybe the offensive coordinator, is going to run, or the type of team that the general manager wants to build. A lot of times in the past, I think you had so many different guys on different wavelengths that they really couldn't all mesh well, and that happened a lot. And I think what you're seeing with Quinn already, I think he's trying to build and put together a staff that's all going to be working in unison. When you have a staff that works like that, usually you're going to be more successful. You're going to have more success with that than just going out and plucking this guy and this guy and this guy. There's a lot to be said about sharing the same vision. I'm not sure if you ever had that under Ron Rivera. I don't think that they all shared the same vision. One example of that was at the end of the 22 season. Rivera said he wanted 2-to-1 ratio of run to pass. Then you hire Eric Bieniemy to come in, run the offense, and then Eric Bieniemy does the exact opposite. So I'm not sure if the coaching staff there ever really shared the same, the same vision. And so it's great to see that from the get-go. I think you're seeing shared vision there. Some of the other things is just that Dan Quinn said all the right things, but he also seems to have, he has that aura about him that he's like, I know that things didn't work out completely the way they should the first time. And I have, as he stated, I am a much stronger coach than I was back then. So I just needed that next opportunity. And he talked about wanting one more chance, wanting that next chance. And he finally got it. And I think he's ready to show a team, hopefully this team, that he truly is a much stronger coach. Maybe he's also learned some things as far as like not wanting to have so much power in regards to running everything, which of course with the Commanders, they were not going to have a coach-centric type of coach there, in terms of the coaches running everything. This time, it is the pecking order is set up exactly the way that it should. And so I think that's another reason why I feel like Dan Quinn is probably going to be a lot more successful this go around. Just overall, he talked about this doesn't really have much to do with anything, but just talked about, like, he swears a lot. He did swear a couple of times in the well, a few times in the press conference, but it's just I think that's his way of knowing that he's very excited to be here. He's ready to go. He's ready to kick some butt, and so I'm excited. Dan Quinn was not anybody's first choice. And I'm not sure if you would ever hear this from Adam Peters and Josh Harris, but I'm sure that Dan Quinn was not their first choice either, which is the reason why you had them going out to interview guys like Mike McDonald and Ben Johnson, the young guys who are going to be the young up and comers, heavily sought from everybody. And yet we all know what happened with Ben Johnson. But I think in the end, I really honestly think that Dan Quinn was right up there with these other guys. And I'm not even sure if honestly, if Ben Johnson wanted the job and the Commanders had the opportunity to interview him for that second time, who's to say that Ben Johnson would have been hired? Maybe the Commanders would have went Dan Quinn anyway. After this press conference, I was very impressed. Reading some social media, a lot of other fans who were on the fence about Dan Quinn were excited. We're definitely ready to roll with Quinn. And he seems like a very exciting type of coach. I'm ready. I want him to get the team fired up. I don't think that there was enough of that with Ron Rivera. Wasn't enough of that with Jake Gruden. And so we're ready to have a coach who's excited, who wants to come in there, fire up his players, who wants to get them rolling and excited. And most importantly, the other things that I got from the press conference is the fact that Dan Quinn seems like he's going to be a type of guy who's going to be able to get the best out of his players, because he's going to be willing to, find out what they do the best and be able to implement that, be able to adjust when he needs to adjust. And I think that was some other issues, especially when you talk about the offensive side of the ball, but even on the defensive side of the ball with Jack Del Rio, a lot of times these coaches just did not want to adjust to the talent that was on the team. And I think because of that, it can't always be the my way is the highway sort of thing. There's got to be a two-way street with that if you want to get the best out of your players. And I think because of that, another reason why that the team hasn't been successful. And so that's really the other thing that I got out of all of this is the fact that Dan Quinn seems like he's going to be very willing to adjust, to listen to his players, to be able to put the right players in the right positions, the right chance to succeed. And I think finally the other thing that we don't have to hear about is position flex anymore. Let's just put players in the best positions that they do the best in, right? I mean, if you have a cornerback who thrives in a zone coverage, but maybe struggles in man, don't put him in man so much. Throw him in zone coverage a little bit more. Let him do the things that he can do the best. Give all of your players a chance to succeed by putting them in the best positions possible to succeed. And so, overall, I was very impressed. I'm glad that we do have Dan here. Hopefully, it's going to be something that's going to bring us some success. I think that he can turn the ball club around quickly, and that's the other thing is he didn't look at he doesn't say it's rebuild. It's more of a what did he say? A retool or recalibration. I think that's what he said. He's recalibrating the team. He's not rebuilding the team, which means that I feel like that he thinks that there's a lot of talent that's already here, that has either been misused, underutilized, whatever the case is, that he's going to be able to come in and figure out what they do the best. Get your playmakers involved. Make sure that they're not just out there running cardio, Terry McLaurin, and be able to put them in the best positions to succeed. And think again, that's the reason why that he went out and he hired Cliff Kingsbury. We really got lucky with that because, things sound like they're all said and done with Kingsbury going to the Raiders, and then he backed out, and suddenly Washington's like, look, we're building something special here. We've got a great ownership group now, which is something I didn't think we were ever going to be able to say. We have hired a solid head coach. We got some talent on the team. We got all this cap space. We got the number 2 pick that you could probably wind up choosing a quarterback. So things looked a lot more attractive, I think, in the end for Cliff in Washington than they did in Vegas. And then on the other side of the football, you got Joe Witt Jr., who's going to be a first-time defensive coordinator. So it'd be interesting to find out how things go from there. But the thing is, Dan Quinn has worked with Witt, so he knows what to expect from him. And so I feel like if Quinn feels that this is not too big for Witt, then hopefully there's going to be some success. And finally, I know I said this about 10 minutes ago, and finally, Dan Quinn is going to let Kingsbury call the plays on offense. He's going to let Witt call the plays on defense, which means you're going to have Dan Quinn you're going to have Dan Quinn, who is actually going to be the one to manage the football game. Something that we felt that Ron Rivera didn't do a very good job of. You're going to have Dan Quinn there helping to mentor Witt along. And this is also good because it weakens one of your NFC East foes, your rivals. And so honestly, I think that the team on both sides of the ball is going to be in really good hands. I just want to know who's going to completely fill out the rest of the team. Is it going to be, who's going to be on the offensive line as far as coaching? Who's going to be the quarterback coach? Who's going to be the running back coach? Are we going to retain, Coach King? Or is she moving on? Is it going to be somebody else? Then on the defensive side, again, I mentioned this earlier, who's going to be the position coaches there. So I would like to know all of that so we feel like, okay, we don't have to worry about the coaching staff. It's already been put in place. Now it's time to start implementing. And I guess finally, the thing on defense, just the last thing I want to say on defense is that one thing that has been said, and you guys out there can know right away. I have completely forgotten, but my assumption was that Dan Quinn's defense was the 3-4 defense as a base. And I know that our base was a 4-3, but we also did a lot of stuff out of the 3-4. So I don't know if it's going to be one of those situations where you're looking at the talent and you're like, okay, you are a 4-3 linebacker. We need a 3-4 linebacker. I mean, we're going to be probably changing that position anyway, but and it's definitely on the defensive line. If we do implement more of a 3-4, what is that going to look like with the talent that we have currently already on that line? So just some interesting things to see. Certainly the roster is going to get probably turned over quite a bit within the next couple of years. So especially if you're implementing a brand new defensive system and offensive system for that matter, although I feel like a lot of times on the offensive side of the football, you can put those players in any type of offense. I'm looking at like receivers and running backs and maybe tight ends, and they will as long as they learn that offense, they can kind of cope with the changes. The quarterback position is a little bit more affected by that than anything else. And certainly your offensive line. I always feel like there's certain type of offensive linemen that work better in certain offenses than others. Our offensive line just really, honestly, didn't work that well anyway. So we'll probably be making some big changes there. But overall, the defensive side of the football is a little bit different because you tend to have certain, like linebackers, for instance, that just they play better in like a 3-4 as opposed to a 4-3. You know, defensive linemen as well. You just have certain ones that are drafted to be in certain base styles of defenses. So it'll be interesting to see how much of a change and turnover that we will have on the defensive side of the ball, knowing that we're implementing a brand new defense that may not look nothing like what we had in Washington, but hopefully it was going to be a lot more success. So anyway, folks, I'm surprised that I kept a voice as long as I did. I did not have any speaking voice at all up until yesterday. And even yesterday it was pretty bad. Today it's still not 100%, but I've actually been able to, maintain a conversation. So I'm very thankful for that. I really want to get my videos back up and rolling. This channel suffers when you can't put out videos because you're sick. And as much as we're getting into AI and things like that, haven't been able to build a clone of me yet to be able to just sit here and do videos. That would be great. If I could have like a clone to me that just stays in the studio all day long and rips out videos while I go and to my other job, or I go out with my family, that would be awesome. But we're not. I don't think we're there yet. Maybe we are. We just don't know it. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, give it a share. It's a brand new era in Washington football. Dan Quinn is official. Cliff Kingsbury is official. Joe Witt Jr. is official on the defensive side of the football. There's a bright future ahead, I think, for Washington football. So with that said, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video. We will see you in the next one. Take care.